Hey scientists, grab those lab coats and goggles as today we are going to start to explore how different plants and animals go through different stages in their life and what are those stages called. Let's get into our essential questions.
Now, let's talk about our essential question. Remember, essential questions in science and in different lessons can help us think about what we already know about a topic, and it helps us connect to new ideas that we're going to learn today to help us produce a new thought about the topic. Our essential questions will be focused on our different science topics. So look for keywords. In those keywords, the minute you see them and recognize them, I want you to think, what do I already know about this topic? Once you have that in your mind, you want to look at the question again to see what we're trying to answer today or what are we trying to answer about that topic. It's important to remember that an essential question is like a goal as well. By the end of our science lesson, you should confidently be able to answer the essential question. Let's go over our essential question for today.
Here are our essential questions for today. Listen first. What are the general stages of the life cycle of living things? Say that one with me. What are the general stages of the life cycle of living things? Let's look at number 2. Listen to me first. What investigation can we conduct to learn about the diverse life cycles of different plants and animals? Now, before we read this one together, let's talk about some different keywords here. Some different things are investigations can we conduct. That involves our explorations and what we will be doing in our classrooms to figure out more about these plants and animals and the stages of life they go in. We're also going to talk about the word diverse life cycles. We're going to be talking about different plants and animals that come from different regions and all over the world and how they are able to survive in their specific worlds. Now let's read the second one with me. We'll read it slow, but read it loud. What investigations can we conduct to learn about the diverse life cycles of different plants and animals? And the last one, listen to me first. What comparisons can we make among the diverse life cycles of different plants and animals? Say that one with me. What comparisons can we make among the diverse life cycles of different plants and animals? Now we're going to play a guessing game. I'm going to show you a different picture, and your job is going to be to guess what it is. As a class, you'll pause the video when the pause button comes up on the screen and create a list. I'll show you different images, so your guess can change, but you can only make one guess each round. If you don't want to guess out loud, write your images or write your guesses on a piece of paper by putting the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 and writing your guess for each picture you see. If your guess doesn't change, write the same thing for each picture. Now your first image is on the screen. I'm not going to give you any clues or guesses just yet as to what this might be, but I want you to take your best guess as to what you think is on the screen. Talk about what you think it might feel like, smell like, look like in person. This is a pretty zoomed in picture, so think about what size this might actually be in person too. Raise your hand and share your thoughts now. After talking for about a minute, come back and I'll show you the next image. This image comes with a clue as I zoomed in a little bit and I also fast forward a little bit in this specific item's life. Do you have any guesses of what this item might be? Pause the video, take about 45 seconds to either write down or share your thoughts on what this item might be. Now, this next image I'm going to show you is actually two images. They're side by side, and it shows the same kind of item, but they're just called different names because they come from different places in the world. Take your time to pause and write your guesses on the screen. Now, this is the same item in the final picture, but maybe you think in one picture it looks like one thing and another one it looks like another. So take your time to take your final guesses and talk as a class for what you think these pictures represent. When you're ready for the answer, come back and I'll tell you what we've been looking at. So what is it? What have we been looking at in all of these pictures? I have been showing you the beginning stages of a frog's life. If you guessed a frog or a tadpole, you were definitely on the right track. Now, the images we looked at the beginning of class show frogs in its early stages when it's just a tiny little egg and it's growing. A frog grows from an egg and eventually moves into a tadpole, then goes to a tadpole with legs, eventually gets its little tail, and eventually it looks like a frog that we see outside ribbiting in our gardens or in our grasses. Now, what does this have to do with what we're going to learn today? Well, like in our essential questions, we got a sneak peek at what we're going to be talking about, and that's life cycles. The life cycle of the frog is seen here. You can pause it and talk about the specifics as a class, but we'll see it again in the future. We're going to talk about different life cycles today, and you guys will get a chance to explore a plant life cycle hands-on, and we're going to explore some more with animal life cycles together before we get started. Let's look at our STEM Scopedia article and read it together before we get into our lesson and you guys get hands-on with some activities. I'll pull up the article on the screen so you don't have to. It's different compliments about how he looks so much like his grandfather and his father. What does this have to do with life cycles, and why are some of Manny's relatives so alike and so different? Well, let's read on about life cycles to see what this has to do with Manny looking like his grandparents. A life cycle includes all the stages of life from birth to death. A stage is just one step in the life process. Manny saw people in different stages of his life at his family reunion. He already has lived through some of these stages. Let's learn more about this. Manny has obviously gone through some of the stages of his life, but he's not a full adult yet. Here's Manny in our picture. As Manny grows up, he'll learn more about the stages that his father has gone through, his grandmother, his grandfather, his parents as well. Manny's little brother here hasn't quite gone through those stages yet that Manny has gone through and experienced, but he one day will. That's how he'll grow in life. Now, humans aren't the only things that go through a life cycle, our everyday life cycle, if you will. Different objects, such as plants and animals, also go through life cycles. Let's take a look on the screen. This is a different photographs of a tomato plant's life cycle. In the tomato plant's life cycle, we see it as it starts out small and it grows over time to the tomatoes that we eat. Now, how do scientists observe these different life cycles, and how are we going to observe different life cycles of plants and animals? Read along with me with your eyeballs and listen as we read about how scientists observe these different topics. Scientists observe how plants and animals change over time. Each living thing has physical traits that make it unique and different from others. Remember, a trait is a characteristic or property of something, such as its height, weight, and skin or fur color for animals. The same kinds of living things have similar traits. For example, the tomato plants above. As a baby tomato plant starts to grow, it looks like a small version of an adult tomato plant. Even though the seedlings on the left is small, it has similar leaves, color, and shape as the adult plant in the center. All tomato plants have traits like these at each stages of their life. So if we scroll up here, we can see the different specific seedlings or the start of our tomato plant tree growing. I'll make that bigger for us to see it a little bit clearer. And then as we move on to the tomatoes growing here, we can see that they still have those leaves here growing. The tomatoes on the top are green shaped and the tomatoes on the bottom are more of a red shape, but they still have a similar kind of shape and size I can see here. Let's keep reading more. Many animals have babies that are just like smaller versions of themselves. Let's look at some pictures here. In our first picture, we have a horse and a baby horse. We can see that they have similar colors, spots, even hair. The baby pony is just smaller than its mother horse, as it's still got to grow through its life stages to reach its full adulthood. We can also see the same with the baby chimpanzee and the adult gorilla. What are some similarities you notice between these different animals? Pause the video and talk about the similarities between the adult and baby versions of our chimps here. So what does this all have to do with Manny? Well, just like the chimps, the adult version and the baby version, you probably saw some similarities and some differences as well. That's the same with Manny being compared to his uncle or his grandparent. He may have similarities in the way he has looked, but he still has a long ways to grow until he is a full adult. Manny's little brother, too, is still a baby. He's in the earliest stages of the life cycle and still has time until he even grows into a toddler and then a teenager. We are going to be exploring different life cycles. You guys are going to start off by exploring some more about plant life cycles today as you work with a certain type of seedling. Good luck and make sure you follow your teacher's directions closely so you get the correct result with our mini lab experiment today. I'll see you soon, scientists.